Let's talk about the advice to mothers to surrender to being a mother, right? To the child.
Yes.
I would think there are associations with the word surrender that are negative.
Yes.
And that women don't surrender because they feel that means they're giving up who they are and everything they've worked for, and now they're going to surrender it all to this child,
That's true.
They should do. But how can you help them get rid of those negative connotations?
Well, the first thing that I bring forward is that it's temporary. It doesn't last forever. But the second thing that needs to be taken into consideration, and this is where I personally really focus all of my work, really, when it comes down to it, is what about the baby? Women, unfortunately, because it's not coming naturally, the fact is, yes, we don't want to surrender our whole life to a child, and, well, you don't surrender your whole life. Temporarily you do. And the fact is that the child, the baby, needs that. I believe for the child to have the optimum chance in reaching their potential in life, or however you want to look at it, they need that. 3 years, but not, I mean, a woman can work, do all sorts of things. But number one focus is the child. And then, because of that, the child is, it is a long time really, but the child needs it. So I'm on the side of the child when it comes to that. So women, as I've said before, they get quite angry. What about the surrender? What about me? What about my life? One thing that was different for me, I must say, that's changed now, I actually enjoyed being with my babies and seeing their development, but I had other women to share that with, and not men in those days, so the fathers weren't around. But that was a wonderful time in our lives. My children are still friends with, I saw their Facebook the other day, they still think, oh my gosh, you still talk to that person and these little kids that I knew, or bigger kids that I knew. So surrendering was possible because I enjoyed the time with the children, my own children and other people's children. But that's kind of fading now because I think children don't matter. Not like they used to.
Why do you think that is? That's sad.
Look at the world around us. There's so much amazing and interesting, so many interesting, amazing things happening. I'm interested in them myself, but I've done my little baby time, so that's okay. I'm lucky. I can be interested and involved in everything. Women don't see the value deeply enough in putting in the surrendered attention and love for a short time. It's not seen anymore because there's many more exciting things to do.
Right.
And, put the kids over there and just get them looked after as best we can and keep on with our wonderful life. Well, that's okay. It doesn't work very well, though.
Right.
And that's the key to this, and I will like to talk later if we get time about how a child develops, what a child needs. That's what's being lost in this world, what a child really needs. I travel quite a lot and I see it happening in other countries, so-called third world countries, where the mother always, the baby never goes on the ground now because it's sort of Western and interesting. You put your baby on the ground. For years, I never saw a baby on the ground. They try and get their babies to crawl in the mud sort of thing. It's very sad. A child needs what was always there, closeness with the mother for as long as possible.
Well, I think it's like, you have to attack so much of what is out there in the world. Like, there's so much competition, even with babies, where they say, is he crawling yet? Is she talking yet?
Yeah,
and so the parent then wants to put the kid on the ground sooner so that their kid can become this, amazing crawler. Whereas what the kid probably needs is to just be cuddled a little bit longer.
That's true, but all us mothers have big ego around that. So that can go along with that a little bit, as long as the other is happening. Doesn't mean just cuddles, it means attention, loving attention toward the child. And if you can see what's required, see the need in the child. I did 3 years when I was studying child development of intense observation of children at play, children in their homes. And I think that's given me this insight, and I do believe it's a special insight, actually. I can see a child, I know exactly where they're up to. I don't usually like to say that because people don't like to show me their child. They're, oh, you're psychoanalyzing my child. But actually I do know, and I do know their stages of development, and I do know what's been missed, and I do know what's required. And some mothers and fathers really like to learn. No, parents don't learn about these things.
How can you help women today in this that are working and that have other things going on to surrender?
I can't. I myself surrender my heart and my mind to the child first. So unfortunately, the mother's missing out there in terms of, I'm really saying to her, you need to come in close. You need to let it happen. Let the child know you're so available to them for a certain period of time.
Well, I agree with you, but I think that it's harder for that conclusion to come to a lot of women.
Yes.
I had the experience you did, which I loved it more than I thought I would, and I realized how much she needed me.
Yes.
And I just enjoy like simple things like sitting on the grass and having her observe something. I mean, it just makes you appreciate really simple things. But how can you inspire people who want to get there but don't feel they can because they're busy and they're working and they can't stop working? And is it possible to be more present and surrendered? And
yes,
yeah,
it is. To keep a busy life going, yes, it is. It's definitely possible, and I do help women do that. But what I see is that in the whole Western world communities, what is vanishing is the community. And so there's no backup for the woman. There's nothing. Women are becoming very isolated. They might have their girly times, but really they're quite isolated from each other and from the world and from their children, actually. And that needs to be addressed. I don't actually mean that a woman should stay in the house and like I did that when my children were young. But what I mean is that the whole family situation needs to be supported. We ourselves have to change. We have to make choices. And rather than the choices going toward, as it is in Australia, I don't know about here, as much childcare as possible, I think help the mothers and fathers care for the children in those early years. So I think that would change things, helping the community stay there for their children in the early years and be available.